2 million.
2 million. So the post money is 10 million. Because the last post was 10 and the new pre is 8, we have a
Down round.
down round. Okay. Alright, so that's the answer to B. How much does the venture firm invest in the second round? Well, I'm just telling you it's the same percentage. What percent of the round did the investor have in 2013?
We don't have here.
15%.
It's not 15% of the.
It's 15 times
round.
plus
Oh.
30%.
So it's 30% of the round.
Got it.
Again, I'm not going to ask you a pro rata question, but what's 30% of 2 million? So it's 600,000. Isn't it? I think it's 600,000. Right. So then essentially you've got 8 million plus 600 plus 600,000 plus 1.2 million equals 10 million. Right. So how do you figure out what percentage?
Do 1.5 times 8 plus the 600,000 all divided by 10.
Say it again.
1.5 times 8, because that's your leftover from the first round.
Okay.
Plus the 600,000 you put in from the second round.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do this math. What's 15% of
1.2 million.
1.2 million? Okay.
So you're at 1.8, you add the 600,000 to
So
that.
incidentally, what does the entrepreneur own at this point?
18.
What's the entrepreneur's value of the company through money? What percent of the company does
6.8.
6.8? Right? You can either take 8 million divided by and subtract the 1.2 and get 6.8, or if you want to check your work or do it a different way, how else do you calculate it?
0.85.
Right, you figure out here, if you wanted to also check your work, that 5 million, well, actually that's not completely true. So, yeah, there's multiple investors, right? So this piece, this is what you own. What do the other investors own? I don't ask you to do this in the problem.
85%.
Say again?
85%.
Well, on the first round.
Between you and all the other investors, you have the 50%.
So they've got 35%.
So they've got 35. Another way to do that is to say,
So they got 2.8.
so there's 1.5 million from you, there's 3.5 million from another investor divided by 10 equals 35%.
So the entrepreneurs own 4 million at 50%.
The entrepreneur owns here 5 million.
And then the second one 4 million.
Not exactly. Is it not exactly?
It should
Oh,
be
no, that's
50%.
good.
Yeah, it's exactly.
That's right. When you own 50% of 8 million, it's going to be 4. So you're exactly right. So 1.2 million for you. What's 35% of 8 million?
2.8.
So 2.8 million for the other investor. 4 million for the entrepreneur. Okay. So how much does the venture firm invest in the second round? We already determined that's 600,000. What is the venture firm fully diluted ownership in dollars and percent after the second round? What is it in dollars? 1.8, right? Because it's 1.2 plus 600,000 or 1.8 divided by 10 million. What is that on a percentage basis?
18%.
18%. You. How about this other investor?
Yep.
So then 1.4 is there.
Oh, yeah, I put 1.2 here, but it's actually 1.4. Okay, so what's 2.8 plus 1.4? 4.2. 4.2.
They got 42%.
10 million, they get 42%. How about the entrepreneur?
40.
They have 40, right? Because they have 4 million, 0, divided by 10. Does that add up? You double check your work? That should be 100%. Okay. All right. How much does the venture firm receive at the company's sale?
If it sells for 100 million.
Sells for 100 million. You're going to get 18 million. Right? 18% of 100 million is 15. Incidentally, if you want to check your work here, how much does investor number 2 get? 42 million. How much does the entrepreneur? 40 million. So if you add those things up, it should also be 100 million. And how do you figure out your multiple of return on the deal?
Invested amount divided by received.
Yeah, so we got to just give you a formula for that. Multiple of return equals, what is it, return capital divided by invested capital. So what does it mean technically if you get a 1x return? That means you double,
Break even.
you break even, right? You spend a certain amount of money, you get the same amount of money back. You make 0 IRR, essentially. But at least you got your money back.
This is an 8.6.
So what's your return capital here?
It's going to be 18 over 2.1.
Okay, what would be 2.1?
The 1.5 plus the 600,000.
Yes.
Is that wrong?
No, that's right.
Uh-huh.
1.5 plus 0.6, which is 18 million divided by 2.1.
Which is 8.6.
About 8.6. Home run? No, because the home run is close. Not quite.
That's third base.
Be careful when you do this, right? Some of you will go back and say, well, it's 600,000 plus 1.2. The reason it's not 1.2 is 1.2 is the value of your investment, but it's not the amount that you invested. In order to get this 1.2, what did you invest? 1.5, right? So you always have to use the invested amount, not whatever the last valuation for it, or to calculate this return capital. All right, does that make sense? Okay. You guys are doing pretty well here. It's going faster than I thought. Yeah.
Quick question, because we were just talking about it. So, the 600,000 came from just investing the same percentage as in the first round. Is that correct? But you didn't state that here. Will you state that in?
I will not, yeah, I will make that simpler. I will certainly not use the words pro rata. And if I ask you, if I said it's the same percentage, we clarify in the exam whether that's the same as the ownership percentage or whether it's the same percentage as the round percentage.
Okay.
A pro rata share, again, we'll get to this in a month or so, but a pro rata share means that you have the same percentage of the round that you have for ownership. And the reason is because there's a preferred term that says if you want to maintain your ownership of the company and you own 20% of the company, then you get 20% of the round, and then you own 20% after the financing. If you own 50% of the company, you get 50% of the round. Then for the next round, then you still own 50% of the company.
Okay. So in this case, if it was pro rata, it would be 15% in that second round.
Pro rata, kind of complicated.
Okay, never mind. Skip that.
I mean, the reason is because if we're only talking about your pro rata share to maintain your ownership percentage, then it's relatively straightforward. But It means different things if you have a down round and somebody drops out of the round than it does if it's an up round and there are more people trying to get into the round. And that's just an unfortunate thing that attorneys and venture capitalists never clear up. But you may not have to know that anymore.
Sounds.
All right, so we've done 3, A through G. Questions on number 3? Should we go ahead and do another one? Yes.
Where is the description of what happens? Is that in the partnership agreement? Like the pro rata reduction or those types of things?
Well, pro rata has to do with preferred terms. So there's
Yeah.
not, pro rata just mostly calculates what percentage people get of this round size. There is a preferred term that makes a big difference in the math here. And I'm not going to teach you that until after the midterm. Because trust me, you don't want to know.
But in the term sheet, those were in the partnership agreement, or where will those things be found?
No, so the partnership agreement is an agreement between LPs and the GP.
Right.
And the investment agreement is between the GP and the company. Right? So when you sell a company, you're going to get a certain amount of money that goes back to the firm. And then your partnership agreement will determine how much of that the GPs get versus how much the LPs get. And the typical rule is the LPs get their money back, and then it's an 80-20 split. That's the waterfall. Let me go through that waterfall. Okay, questions on 3? We'll do number 4. Let's do 4. You guys glad you're not getting this the week before the exam?
That's.
All right, the company has a $7 million pre-money valuation, and a venture firm invests in half of a $3 million first round A. 2 years later, companies double the value and the firm invests $2 million in a $4 million round B. And then a handful of questions. All right, how about for 4A? What's the venture firm's fully diluted ownership in percent in dollars after this first round?
15% and 1.
All right, how do we math? You said,
They put in 1.5 of the 10.
okay, so there's a round. How big is the round?
3 million.
Okay, 3 million. Do we know the pre or do we know the post?
Pre.
We know the pre.
Okay, what's the pre?
7.
7.
Okay, so the post is?
10.
10. All right, how's the round split up?
You put in 1.5, and somebody else put in another 1.5.
All right, so I would write it out like this. Okay, the question is, what's the firm's fully diluted ownership in dollars and percent after the first round? What is it in dollars?
1.5 million.
Okay, it's still 1.5 million. And what is it in percent?
15%.
Okay, 1.5 divided by 10 equals 15%. How about B? Second round and up round or down round?
Up.
Up round, how do you know?
Double in value,
Double, what does that probably mean?
20.
20 million. So your pre-money for the second round is 20. Do we know how much time passes?
2 years.
2 years. So we'll say this is 2013. This is 2015. Again, the years don't really matter unless you're going to calculate the IRR, in which case you have to know how much time passes. All right, so $20 million free. What else do you know about the second round?
$4 million round.
$4 million round. So the post is
24.
24, but you're going to split up that $4 million round into what?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. Okay. So how much does the venture firm? How much does the venture firm invest in the second round? Actually, that was
2 million.
2. What's the venture firm's ownership in dollars and percent after the second round?
3.8.
5 million?
How do you figure that?
5 million from 20. Okay, so you're gonna get the 2 million from your 15%.
Okay, so you're going to say, look, 15% of 20 million equals $3 million. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And if we want to figure out everybody else's, what's the other investor? The same. Another 2 million. How about the entrepreneur? 14, right? Because they're 7 tenants or 70%? 7% of 20 million is 14 million. So check your math as of 20.
Yep.
All right, so how much does the investor own of the final 24?
20.8%.
5, right? 3 million plus 2 million equals 5. Divided by 24. How much is that? 20%?
20.8.
20.8.
If you want to check your math here, you've got another investor that's got the same. How much does the entrepreneur own?
50.
Okay, 14.
8.2.
24 is
58.2.
about 58.2%.
Yep.
That would true.
58.4%.
6. You're right. On the exam, I'll give you a little bit of leeway. You should have like 2 significant digits, but as long as you're pretty close. All right. So what did we answer last? Ownership in dollars and percent. In dollars, how much do they own in the second round? 5 million. Okay. In percent? Okay. What's the venture firm's return multiple date? So they're not actually selling this company. So it's just 1.4, right?
Because it's just they're putting 3.5 and they've got 5 back. So 5 over 3.5.
Yeah. So they haven't technically gotten 5 back, but we'll just say since they're carrying 5 on their books, we'll put that in the numerator, and they've invested
3.5.
3.5. So what is that?
1.43.
1.43?
Yeah.
So a lot of firms will report this as kind of partial returns. Like, so far, we haven't liquidated your LP money into the LP fund. You get 1.43 times the money back on the books. So that's what the investment's doing. That make sense? Questions about 3? 5, also a trick question. Question like number 1 might be on the midterm. Question like number 5 will not. You guys want to do it? You want to skip it?
Skip it, learn.
All right, let's talk about
What do with it?
comparables.
What if learning was not do?
If anybody wants to stay after class, I'll do it for anybody who wants to stay. We'll do number 5. So let's talk about comparables for a minute. We've been taking a lot of shortcuts with math, and we've been saying, suppose they sell a company for $100 million. Well, in order to be able to put a financial model together, you have to take an estimate as to what you think the company's